Have you ever wondered how an ancient civilization built monumental pyramids that still stand today, or how they created a society that lasted for over 3,000 years? Today, we're journeying back in time to the land of the Pharaohs, exploring the incredible story of the ancient Egyptian empire. So grab your explorer's hat and let's dive into the sands of time. Our story begins with a river. Not just any river, but the lifeblood of Egypt. The Nile. Flowing from the heart of Africa north to the Mediterranean Sea. The Nile River was the absolute foundation of ancient Egyptian civilization. Every year, it would flood its banks, leaving behind a thick, rich layer of black silt. This fertile soil was a miracle in the middle of a vast desert, allowing the Egyptians to grow abundant crops like wheat and barley. It was this annual gift from the river that fed the people, supported the cities, and fueled the rise of a powerful empire. But the Nile was more than just a source of food and water. It was the superhighway of the ancient world. Boats and barges sailed up and down the river, transporting goods, stone for building, and armies. Without the Nile, there would be no ancient Egypt as we know it. It was their creator, their provider, and their protector. At the very top of this vibrant civilization stood a figure of immense power and authority, the Pharaoh. But a Pharaoh wasn't just a king or an emperor. They were considered a living god on earth. Believed to be the earthly incarnation of the god Horus, the Pharaoh was the bridge between the divine and the human world. This divine status gave them absolute power. They controlled everything: the religion, the government, the military, the economy, and the land itself. The Pharaoh was the chief priest, leading religious ceremonies to ensure the gods were pleased and that the Nile would flood as expected. They were the supreme commander of the army, defending Egypt's borders and leading campaigns to expand the empire. And they were the ultimate judge, responsible for maintaining Mat, the cosmic order of truth, justice, and harmony. The Pharaoh's word was law, and their authority was unquestioned. This belief in a divine ruler was a key reason why the Egyptian state remained so stable for millennia. To manage such a vast and complex kingdom, the Pharaohs relied on a strong, centralized government. Think of it like a giant, well-oiled machine with the pharaoh at the control panel. Just below the pharaoh were high-ranking officials like the vizier, who was the pharaoh's right-hand man, overseeing the entire administration. The country was divided into provinces called nomes, each governed by a nomarch who reported to the central government. This structure ensured that taxes were collected efficiently, laws were enforced, and large-scale national projects, like building irrigation canals or massive temples, could be organized and executed. A key part of this administration was the scribes. These were the educated elite who had mastered the complex art of writing. They were the record keepers, the accountants, and the bureaucrats who kept the empire running smoothly. This highly organized system allowed Egypt to maintain order and stability for thousands of years, a feat few other civilizations can claim. Now, let's talk about something the Egyptians are famous for: their obsession with the afterlife. For the ancient Egyptians, life on earth was just a temporary phase, a preparation for an eternal journey in the afterlife. They believed that after death, their soul would embark on a perilous voyage through the underworld, where it would be judged by the gods. If they had lived a righteous life, they would be granted entry into the field of reeds, a paradise where they could live forever. This profound belief shaped almost every aspect of their culture. To ensure a successful journey to the afterlife, the body had to be preserved. This led to the development of the sophisticated process of mummification. Vital organs were removed and stored in canopic jars, while the body was dried out with salt and wrapped in linen bandages. The tombs they built were not just graves. They were eternal homes for the deceased, filled with everything they would need in the next life: food, furniture, clothes, tools, and even magical spells inscribed on the walls from the Book of the Dead to help them navigate the dangers of the underworld. This focus on the afterlife led to some of the most astonishing architectural achievements in human history. Of course, I'm talking about the pyramids. These massive structures, built as tombs for the pharaohs during the Old and Middle Kingdoms, are a testament to Egypt's incredible engineering skills and the immense power of the pharaohs. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, stood as the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years. Imagine the sheer scale of the operation. Millions of massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were acquired, transported often by river, and then precisely placed to create these perfect geometric shapes. But Egyptian architecture wasn't just about pyramids. They also built sprawling temple complexes like Karnak and Luxor, dedicated to their gods. These temples featured colossal statues, towering obelisks, and grand halls filled with intricately carved columns. These structures were designed to inspire awe and reinforce the power of both the gods and the pharaohs. So who were the people who made all of this possible? Ancient Egyptian society was structured like a pyramid itself, with a clear hierarchy. At the very peak, of course, was the pharaoh, the divine ruler. Just below were the priests and nobles, who held great wealth, land, and influence. They administered the temples and assisted the pharaoh in governing the kingdom. Then came the scribes and government officials, the educated class who kept the bureaucracy running. Further down the pyramid were the skilled artisans and craftspeople, stonemasons, carpenters, jewelers, and artists who created the beautiful objects and buildings we admire today. The vast majority of the population, forming the base of the pyramid, were the farmers. Their labor in the fields produced the food that sustained everyone else. Below them were unskilled laborers and, at the very bottom, slaves, who were often prisoners of war. While there was a rigid social structure, it wasn't impossible to move up. A talented boy from a humble family could become a scribe and achieve a position of power and respect. How did they keep track of all this? Through one of their most significant inventions, a complex system of writing known as hieroglyphics. The word hieroglyph literally means sacred carving. This beautiful script, made up of hundreds of pictorial signs, was used primarily for religious texts, inscriptions on tombs and temples, and official government records. You've probably seen them carved into ancient monuments, but writing hieroglyphics was a slow and painstaking process. So, for everyday use, like writing letters or keeping business accounts, the Egyptians developed a simpler, cursive script called hieratic, and later, an even more simplified version called diem. The ability to read and write was a rare and valuable skill, and scribes were highly respected members of society. For centuries, the meaning of these symbols was lost, until the discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799, which had the same text inscribed in hieroglyphics, Demotic, and Greek, finally allowing scholars to unlock the secrets of ancient Egypt. The engine that powered this empire was its economy. Agriculture was the undisputed backbone. The fertile lands along the Nile produced a surplus of grain, which was not only food, but also a form of currency. Taxes were paid in grain, and workers on government projects were paid in rations of bread and beer. But the Egyptians were also skilled craftspeople. They produced high-quality goods like linen, textiles, pottery, glass, and intricate jewelry made from gold and semi-precious stones. Trade was also vital. Egypt lacked certain resources, like timber and metals, so they established trade routes with neighboring lands. They sailed to Lebanon for cedar wood, to Nubia in the south for gold, ivory, and exotic animals, and across the Red Sea to a land they called Punt for incense and myrrh. This robust economy, based on agriculture, craftsmanship, and trade, provided the wealth that funded the pharaohs' monumental building projects and military campaigns. To protect this wealth and their borders, the Egyptians needed a strong military. During periods of peace and stability, the army was relatively small, focused on defending frontiers and protecting trade expeditions. But during periods of expansion, like the New Kingdom, Egypt fielded a powerful and professional army. This was the age of warrior pharaohs, like Thutmose III and Ramesses the Great, who led their armies to conquer vast territories in the Near East and Nubia, creating an empire that stretched from modern-day Syria to Sudan. The Egyptian army was well organized, equipped with chariots, bows and arrows, spears, and shields. They built a series of fortresses along their borders, particularly in Nubia to the south, to control trade routes and suppress any potential rebellions. This military might not only expanded the empire but also brought immense wealth, tribute, and slaves back to Egypt, further enriching the pharaohs and the state. So, after 3,000 years of triumphs and turmoil, what is the legacy of this incredible civilization? It's all around us. Their architectural genius, seen in the pyramids and temples, has inspired builders and artists for centuries. In the field of medicine, Egyptian doctors were surprisingly advanced. They could set broken bones, perform simple surgeries, and had knowledge of many medicinal herbs, with some of their practices documented on papyri. Their understanding of mathematics, particularly geometry, was essential for building the pyramids and surveying land, and of course their art, with its distinctive style, and their complex religion and mythology have captivated the world for generations. Ancient Egypt wasn't just a civilization of mummies and pharaohs. It was a culture of innovation, organization, and profound belief that left an indelible mark on the course of human history. From the life-giving Nile to the eternal pyramids, ancient Egypt was a civilization of incredible contrasts and achievements. It was a world ruled by gods on earth, built by the hands of millions, and driven by a powerful belief in eternal life. Its story continues to fascinate and inspire us, a timeless reminder of human ingenuity and our quest for immortality. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventures into history. Let me know in the comments which ancient civilization you'd like to explore next. See you in the next one.